Welcome to a new episode of Triple Threat. My name is Mikhail Vats, and joining me once again is the great William Azal. Before we get started, a quick reminder, feel free to drop a question in the comment section below, and we will answer it in our next episode because we want to know what's on your mind and we want to answer all your questions. Week 1 of the NFL preseason just wrapped up, and we've seen a lot of new faces and new places, and a couple of standouts on my list. In fact, all 4 of my standouts are new faces and new places, all quarterbacks as well. I'll start off with Kirk Cousins, new quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. He was sharp. He didn't play much, but he was perfect when he played. 4 for 4, 42 yards, and a touchdown. And when he was in Washington, he didn't have the weapons like he did in Minnesota with Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, and Stephon Diggs, just to name a few. So he'll only continue to get better in Minnesota, and I think he'll have a great career there and a great free agency choice for Kirk. Secondly is Teddy Bridgewater. He was also very sharp in his debut, 7 for 8, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Teddy Bridgewater is obviously fighting for a starting spot between Josh McCown and Sam Darnold, and I'll get to Sam Darnold in a bit. But if Teddy Bridgewater continues to play like this, and we both said that if he plays well and if he plays to his potential, he could be the starter and he should be the starter. If he plays like this, he'll be the starter going into the season. Like I said, Sam Darnold, I was going to get to him. He was 13 for 18, 96 yards and a touchdown. And we talked about him in a previous podcast. He was going to be the third string going into the season. But now there's talk about him being the starter. And we know he's going to have a good career. But he's going to have to continue to play well and be consistent if he wants to get that starting spot going into the season. And lastly, another QB, first pick in the draft, Cleveland Browns, Baker Mayfield, had a tremendous debut, 11 for 20, 212 yards and two touchdowns. Played well. He has a lot of weapons, and he's utilizing his weapons. Antonio Callaway, Josh Gordon, Jarvis Landry. So I think Baker Mayfield showed a spark of promise in this game, and I think it's a very big step up. And I doubted Baker Mayfield. I said that the Browns would be looking for a quarterback in the 2019 NFL draft, but if he continues to play like this, he may be the guy to go to for the Cleveland Browns.
But who was the better quarterback that game? Tyrod Taylor, who was 5 for 5 and had the better passes that game, or Baker Mayfield, who got lucky with some and was almost 50% that game?
I mean, no doubt. But I'm saying that if Baker Mayfield can put up these big numbers, like 212 yards and two touchdowns, he's gonna do great in the NFL. So that's all I'm saying. And don't get me wrong, I think Tyrod Taylor will be the starter going into the season. But Baker Mayfield showed a tremendous amount of promise in his debut.
Agreed. I think he's gonna do big things in the NFL. And on someone who could do big things, once a certain Drew Brees retires, is Taysom Hill. There's a reason they didn't draft a quarterback in the draft this season, and I think this game really showed why. He was playing against the third and second stringers, but he played well. He had a 100 pass rating, led the team in rushing yards from quarterback, 7 carries, 52 yards, and a touchdown. He was 8 for 9 on the day, passed for 72 yards, averaging 8 yards a pass. He looked really sharp, and I think that if he can play like that and he can learn under Drew Brees for the next couple of years, he could be the starter for this post-Brees era Saints. But the problem is he's 27 and he's only playing his second year in the NFL. And when Brees retires, he could be 30, and you don't want your new quarterback to be 30, so they could be looking at a new guy. But his receiver that he was throwing to a lot, Tre'Quan Smith, looked great. 4 receptions, 48 yards on 5 targets, averaging 12 yards a catch. He was making some acrobatic catches all over the field, playing with the first, second, and third stringers. He was listed as a second stringer. He played well. He played phenomenal. One of the main reasons the Saints came back. He was sharp, and I can't see him taking that wide receiver 3 spot and maybe even the 2 spot if Cam Meredith's MCL and ACL tear does flare up in the middle of the season. And moving on to a Packers receiver, which Aaron Rodgers called piss poor along with the entire rookie wide receiving core, Marquise Valdes-Scantling looked great. 5 catches for 101 yards with a touchdown with a long of 51, averaging 20 yards a catch. Obviously, he wasn't getting passes from Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers needs build up trust with his receivers, and he doesn't trust this receiving core at all. But if you're looking for the best talent on this team to get a wide receiver 3, I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling should be getting the wide receiver 3 spot, but he just gotta get some trust from Aaron Rodgers. He was a 5th-round pick, but he's looking well worth the value, looking like a steal in the draft, and he could be doing some big things in a couple of years because Aaron Rodgers really needs to build up the trust with him before he can do something. Moving on to my final player, I'm going with the running back, Chris Warren from Oakland. He had 13 attempts for 86 yards, long of 26, so he was being consistently pounding the ball up the field, averaged 6 yards a carry, and a 16-10 win over the Detroit Lions. I thought he played well. Obviously, the story was beast mode Marshawn Lynch's incredible run being taken back. He looked good too in this game, but if they're going to look for a post uh, Marshawn Lynch world, which is very likely as he's getting up there in the age, Chris Warren could take the reins and run with it. He's only 22, looks really promising. This could be a breakout season for this rookie.
Great standouts there, and more to come in the next coming weeks of preseason. But NBA lottery pick Michael Porter Jr. recently said he's pain-free after his second back surgery in July. Are you buying this?
I am not buying it. Michael Porter should sound like he's healthy, but when Derrick Rose said he was pain-free, was he this? He might have been pain-free, but he wasn't playing the same basketball as he used to play. I don't think that Michael Porter Jr. should even play if he is healthy, because he should just take that year to really get his health back, to get his shot back, to get his work back, to get back into it. You don't want to rush this process, because if you rush it, you could ruin your entire future as a player. He's only 20 years old, and I really think his promise will be shown if he can hold out this first season or half the season if he's impatient. But if he rushes into it, I think he could stagnate, re-aggravate the injury, and cause his entire season and career to follow Derrick Rose's path. And you don't want to see such a great talent go to waste.
You're exactly right with the point you bring up about don't rush, because if you look at a guy like Ben Simmons, who was the number 1 pick, and he was out his first year because of an injury, it was worth it to rest out that first year because he should have been an all-star in my opinion, won Rookie of the Year, and I think he'll be one of the best players in the league, top 3 in his best years. So you don't want to rush it with Michael Porter Jr., but I'm somewhat buying it because there are a lot of reports, a lot of reporters going out and saying, you know what, Michael Porter Jr. may actually be healthy for the first game of the season. And Michael Porter Jr. said this: I don't have a date, but I hope to be back for the beginning of the year. He is a tremendous player. Without the injury, he would have been the number 1 pick. In high school, he averaged over 36 points per game and 13 rebounds and won that McDonald's All-American MVP. So a tremendous player, and we hope that he can be healthy, and we hope to see him in that first game. But like you said, he doesn't want to rush it because it could end up ruining not only his season but his career.
When do you think he will come back, and what week do you think he should come back?
You know, I don't see him playing in the season opener. I mean, we've seen a lot of people say, you know what, I want to come back before the season. I want to come back before the playoffs, but it hasn't happened. So Michael Porter Jr., I think he's a very humble guy who will work he'll definitely try to get healthy for the first game of the season, but I don't think the trainers, the medical staff will allow him to play just because of the risk they're taking on that. So I think he'll come maybe just before halfway through the NBA season. And we didn't even expect to see him play this season, as we talked about in another podcast. But if even if we could see him this season, it'd be great not only for Michael Porter Jr. and his family, but the Denver Nuggets franchise and all NBA fans, because he's such a tremendous talent. Moving on, the sports world is being dominated by young players under the age of 21, And this has been a topic that we have been dying to get to, and it's finally the perfect time to get to. Finally, the perfect time to get to it. Who are your top 3 players under the age of 21? There are so many to choose from. It's so hard to take it down to just 3. But who are your top 3, Will?
Before I go into my top 3, I want to give some honorable mentions to some players that I was really debating putting in. Justin Cleve, I was going to put him in here, but he doesn't have enough experience in a top 5 league for me to put him in there. Ozzy Albies I was going to put in there, but I can't see him displacing anyone on this list. And especially a big shout to Jason Tatum. I thought he was a great option for this list. He balled out in his first season. He was great as a third option in that Celtics team, but I don't think he can really displace anyone on this list. So first up, I'm going to go with rookie free safety Marcus Williams for the Saints. One of the only 21-year-old rookies in the league right now.
Yeah.
All the other rookies are 22 or 23. He came young out of college. I think the only other player was Joe Mixon. Last season, he looked incredible. 15 games, 4 picks. He had 7 passes deflected, 57 tackles, and 4 assists. And he's looked amazing in training camp so far this season. He's picked off Breeze 3 days in a row. Breeze has called him a little bit of Ed Reed. You don't know where he's going to be, but he's always there. He somehow makes a play on everything. And if you look at Ed Reed's rookie season, it looks pretty similar. 5 picks, 12 passes deflected, 71 tackles, and 14 assists. That's pretty similar stats. Obviously, he's not going to get the level of Ed Reed, but if he can get half of that, he's going to be an elite player for years to come. And if you look at someone that's like an elite safety already, Harrison Smith, he had 1 less pick. He had 4 less passes deflected. He had only 5 less tackles.
Wow.
And 5 less assists. This guy is already on that elite level. And he had a pick in the playoffs against the Vikings, which would take his tally to 5, evening the playing field with him in those competition.
Great comparison.
Second player, I have to go with the Edmonton Oilers star centerman, Connor McDavid. He's played a couple seasons in the NHL. NHL obviously have a younger age that you can go into the league with. He has been phenomenal in his 3 years for the Oilers. He played a total of 82 games last season, scoring 41 goals and getting 67 assists. He was sharp. And if you can compare those stats to the best centerman in the league, Sidney Crosby, it's quite frankly, it's better. He scored more goals. He had more assists. Crosby only had 29 goals and 60 assists, which is a total of 89 points, versus Connor McDavid's incredible 108. He had 100 points last season. This kid will be the next world beater in hockey. I wouldn't be surprised if he could take over the reins for Sidney Crosby or be the next Alexander Ovechkin. He's just being wasted on the team he's on, and he's one of the greatest young prospects out there. My number 1 on my list was going to be Kylian Mbappe, but I know you're going to talk about him a little bit later, so I'm going to go with another French World Cup winner in Ousmane Dembele, over $100 million transfer to Barcelona to be Neymar's replacement, and there's good reason why he cost over $100 million over a year ago. Ousmane Dembele was phenomenal for Borussia Dortmund 2 years ago. He doesn't know what his weak foot is. A reporter asked him, what do you shoot with? My left. What do you take penalties with? My right. What do you pass with? My left. What's your strong foot? I don't know. He is incredible as a player. Last season, he only had 3 goals, but had that terrible injury. He is one of the greatest talents out there, and I wouldn't be surprised if he could take the reins for Lionel Messi or even start this season. But the addition of Malcolm could hurt him a little bit. And he had over 10 plus goals and assists in that year with Borussia Dortmund. He's proven himself in Ligue 1. He's proven himself in the Bundesliga, and he started to prove himself in the La Liga with Barcelona. He obviously scored that worldie of a goal yesterday for Barcelona in the Super Cup, the Spanish Super Cup. He got credited for one of the goals, but arguably should have taken both of them. He was phenomenal in that game, and this kid will easily be a superstar and can potentially challenge for the Ballon d'Or in the next couple of years.
You're completely right about Ousmane Dembele, but you are also right how I love Kylian Mbappe. At age 19, he's doing things we've never seen before. He was obviously a huge part to France's World Cup victory, scoring 4 goals for them. And he's a talent. He's fast. He is aggressive. He'll do whatever he wants, whatever it takes to win on the field. He led AS Monaco to the semis, 6 goals in 9 matches. Obviously led France to that huge World Cup victory, 4 goals, as I said. And he's only going to get better in his career, especially at the age of 19. He's also being scouted by bigger clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona. So Kylian Mbappe is only going to work his way up, and I think he'll become one of the better soccer players, one of the greatest soccer players this game has seen.
And some stats about Mbappe. He scored 62 goals at the age of 19. That's more than Messi and Ronaldo have scored, double that. And by the time they turned 19. Sure, they started earlier, but Messi started super young at Barcelona. He broke into that first team at an extremely young age, scoring having a hat trick of Ballon d'Ors by the time he was 23. But Mbappe could take the reins as the greatest player. I don't see him taking over the likes of Messi, but you bring up a good point, and he's going to be a world beater.
Definitely. He's going to be one of the best this game has ever seen. Moving on, secondly, I have Katie Ledecky, American swimmer. And a lot of people, when they think of athletes under 21, they don't think swimming. But when you look at her, she lost her first major race in 2017. She lost the gold, got the silver, but won the rest of the matches in that competition, winning 5 gold medals. So in the past year, she has won 9 gold medals and 2 silver medals, and she is 21 years old. A tremendous talent and a new face for Team USA in the swimming industry. She's already broken NCAA records when she was in college. She's already broken her own records in swimming. She'll continue to break world records as she goes on in her Olympic career. So a tremendous talent in Katie Ledecky, who will take over the women's swimming industry, in my opinion. And lastly, my third guy is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. At the age of 19, he's working to get up to the Toronto Blue Jays. But his father, obviously, Hall of Famer, 9-time All-Star, 2004 American League MVP in Vladimir Guerrero. Guerrero Jr. is in the minor leagues averaging 400 in 2018, 114 hits. 18 of those hits are home runs and 69 RBIs. Guerrero Jr. is one of the talents that this game was so surprised about when they see. They'll never see anything like him when he comes up to the major leagues. And he's such a big part. He'll be such a big part to the Toronto Blue Jays franchise. Obviously, they lost a guy like Josh Donaldson. They lost a guy like Jose Bautista, who were great for their franchise. And not to mention Edwin Encarnacion, who were huge players for the Toronto Blue Jays. So now with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., they have someone to look forward to. So I think he's a tremendous player and completely underrated at the age of 19, who will then be someone who everyone knows.
But can you really put the best player into the category of players that have already proven it, like Acuna and Ozzy Albies? I really don't see that, because I could put in players like Kluivert, who I think will be one of the best players following in his dad's footsteps, and Patrick Kluivert. But Justin Kluivert looks just as good. Like, I can't. It's not potential. It's how good they are now. That's why I couldn't include him in my list.
That's fair. But I'm saying that even though we haven't seen him play in the major leagues, we're seeing him putting up these big numbers in the minor leagues, which are promising for major league stats. And we've seen him hit these 400-foot home runs, which are great, and they'll compromise too MLB play. But when you talk about a guy like Ronald Acuna, he can't stay healthy. He needs to show me he's consistent. Ozzy Albies was also a guy who I thought about. He was your honorable mention. But Vladimir Guerrero, when he gets up there, he's going to be better than Ozzy Albies. That's why I put him at the number 3 spot.
A next Aaron Judge. He played in the minor leagues. Until the Yankees took a punt on him. I just don't get why the Blue Jays wouldn't call him up by now, because they really need some help anywhere they can get it.
I mean, you're right. They totally do need some help right now. But right now, they know they're not playoff contenders. Obviously, getting rid of their star pitchers and Marcus Stroman, Roberto Ozuna, who else? J.A. Happ to the Yankees. So they know that they're in rebuild mode. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him come up next season, because now you want to develop him in the minor leagues, so that way he'll become the best player he can be. That way he's not rushed in the MLB and he's not behind. The show, Breakout or Bust. We've got two NBA stars, young players, Brandon Ingram and Marvin Bagley. We'll start off with Brandon Ingram. Breakout or bust, Will?
I'm gonna say breakout, but I can't see him being a breakout for the Lakers. I say he's gonna be a little bit of trade bait in the future, just giving his star power and how he's not really lived up to the extreme hype that he had coming out of college. He had 9.4 points per game in his rookie season, 2016-17 all rookie, but he only started 40 games that season, so he's getting a lot of looks off the bench. Not only 20, he had 20 minutes a game. So he was doing okay his first season, but he took off last year, 16 points per game. He had a great 4 assists, almost a steal, almost a block a game, shot 50% from the field. But I say, here's my bold claim. He's going to be traded to the Raptors. So they were trying to trade Brandon Ingram to the Spurs to get Kawhi Leonard to help partner LeBron. But the Spurs were asking for too high of a price. And if the Raptors come in with a shiny DeMar DeRozan, ooh, look, we can't turn this down. We're getting the most value we can out of Kawhi. He goes off to Toronto. So they're not having the best season. So they're like, okay, Kawhi's going to leave us now. He's not going to want to stay. So they're going to try to get some value out of him. So they turn to the Lakers. They offer Brandon Ingram and maybe a pick or two and some young players. Boom, Kawhi's now a Laker. They lose Brandon Ingram. I said it'd be a loss for the team because he looks really good. But that's my prediction. He's going to be a star for the Raptors. He's going to be the star man for that team because they're not going to have any power. They're going to have a lot of cap to build a team around him. And that's my bold claim.
That is completely fair. It's hard to disagree with you when you bring up the points that you do, but I think he is going to be a bust. When Brandon Ingram came into the league, I was very excited because I watched him play at Duke. And when Kevin Durant came out and said, it's like looking in a mirror, that set a very, very high bar for Brandon Ingram, and he has not lived up to the hype. 9.4 points per game in his rookie season, obviously very disappointing. But Kevin Durant didn't come out very strong in his rookie season as well with Seattle. But 16.1 points last season, obviously a bit of a breakout. Great sign for Brandon Ingram. But now you have the greatest player of all time, in my opinion, coming down to LA. Showtime with Lonzo Ball. Brandon Ingram is going to have to play under LeBron's shadow, which is why I agree with you. I don't know if he'll go to Toronto, but he will be traded. And here's another reason why he will be traded. The Lakers only used one max slot in this year's past free agency. Obviously on LeBron James. They didn't use Paul George, who went to OKC, and he was obviously a favorite to go to LA. Didn't use it on any other free agent like I can't think of any other free agents that had big contracts. DeMarcus Cousins, they could have used it on him. Instead, he took a $5 million deal in Oakland, but a different story for a different time. So in 2019, they still hold on to a max contract. And there are guys like Jimmy Butler, shooting guard, small forward, Klay Thompson, also shooting guard, small forward, Kyrie Irving. You could put him at shooting guard if you want to, but obviously a true point guard. Kawhi Leonard, another shooting guard, small forward. Those are all Brandon Ingram's position. And when you have a max contract slot, you have to give LeBron one of these players to help him. Klay Thompson would be a good fit. I don't know about Kyrie Irving just because of the whole drama in Cleveland. Jimmy Butler may not be a bad fit. Kawhi Leonard definitely not a bad fit. Two star players on the same team. Brandon Ingram's going to be gone, which is why I think he'll be a bust. And hopefully he'll be better with a different team. And hopefully he can live up to that hype that Kevin Durant set when he came into the league.
I mean, if you look at the teams LeBron's won a championship with, it's with Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, 3 superstars. It's with Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, 3 superstars.
Yeah.
He has to have 3 to win a championship, and that's the magic number right now. And if he only has 1 right now, and maybe 2 if Brandon Ingram or Lonzo Ball or Kyle Kuzma can break out, which is unlikely to happen in the next couple of years, they have to bring in somebody in. And that's why I think that he's not going to hold on to a spot on the team.
Agree. I completely agree with you. Secondly, Marvin Bagley, Kings power forward, took him with the 2nd pick in the 2018 NBA draft. Breakout or bust?
I really want to say breakout, and I think I'm going. But if you look at the similarities, another big player from Duke, Jahlil Okafor, taken in the top 3 picks.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of similarities, but he can shoot, and that's the big difference. He shot 60% from the field last season. He had a 62% from free throw, not great, but he averaged 21 points a game, and that's scoring. Scoring matters. The top players in the ACC points per game always translate well to the NBA, and that's why I said Josh Okogie was going to be a breakout earlier. Marvin Bagley was the top points per game in the ACC. Behind him was Tyus Battle and Josh Okogie. Last season, it was Donovan Mitchell and Jason Tatum. That's high praise. Those were 2 candidates for Rookie of the Year who would have won it if Ben Simmons did play the year before. And that's why Marvin Bagley was taken at the number 2 spot. They saw promise in him. He played for a good team in Duke, which is great at finding talent. He was the number 1 prospect coming into college, and he was the number 2 prospect coming out of it. So we kept his value and market, and he took that. He goes into the NBA on a pretty bad team, so he's going to be the face of the Kings. He's going to be the team player that the team looks to build their team around. And if Bagley can become the center of this new Kings team, I see this player becoming a breakout in the.
I can't agree with you more. Obviously, like you said, and that's what I completely agree with you. You said that Marvin Bagley, the difference between him and another big man from Duke and Jahlil Okafor is that Bagley can shoot. Okafor and Bagley play a very similar game. They can drive, they're aggressive, they can post up, but Marvin Bagley gives you that ability to shoot from the outside, shoot from the elbow. And Bagley, he's coming into a league where it's a big man's league. You look at guys like Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, who have all learned how to shoot the 3-ball now consistently. Marvin Bagley is going to have to not only improve his 3-point shot, but show that he's consistent. And I think that he can do that, which is why I'm going with a breakout. Bagley was one of the best players going into college, like you said, number 1 ranked prospect. And then going into the NBA, he was the number 2 ranked prospect, showing he's consistent. He's also got a guy in De'Aaron Fox, who's a very nice distributor for the Sacramento Kings. So that'll only help Marvin Bagley. I think he found a great spot in Sacramento. Could not fit better for their franchise.
That's a young core with 2 best young talents in the league, and if they can find a max contract spot for some unhappy free agent, I don't know, maybe if they could bribe away someone like Jimmy Butler or Kyrie Irving, although extremely unlikely, that could be an extremely promising team. And if I see a team with such young talent like that, I would want to go join that team. And if they have maybe a 30-40 win season this year, this could be a destination for a lot of players.
Yeah, and like you said, they could go after a guy like Jimmy Butler, Klay Thompson, Kyrie Irving, Kawhi Leonard. List goes on for the next year's free agents. But the problem is, will be able to pay those guys? They obviously saved some money this year, and they were aggressive in free agency, which I liked. They were trying to sign a guy like Marcus Smart, who has been very good for the Celtics. They were trying to sign a young guy like Zach LaVine, who had a great season in Chicago. Obviously, the offer was matched, so he returned to the Bulls. But they're showing that they're not afraid to get aggressive in free agency, which is good, because most of the times you see young teams holding off in free agency. Oh no, we're gonna rebuild. We're not gonna sign those big names in free agency. But the Kings are making a good move in being aggressive in free agency. So you give Bagley another star player, he's not only gonna learn under them, but he's gonna become a better player himself. So interesting to see how Bagley will turn out, because he has a very promising future in my eyes.
But something I just realized is that if you look at a team that was young, had a lot of talent, was Zach LaVine's former team, the Timberwolves, Karl Anthony Towns, Zach LaVine, and Andrew Wiggins. Extremely young, exciting prospects.
Yeah.
They traded away LaVine for Jimmy Butler, and that ruined the team. They could have had an exciting young team, except now they have an unhappy group of players who thought they should have done better, finishing the 8th spot in the West and get knocked down the first round. Supposed to be a dark horse contender, but didn't do it. And that could be a downfall of the Kings, but they haven't done that yet. But if they keep hold of this young core, maybe sign a couple more young players, couple sly acquisitions, maybe this could be a fringe playoff contender in 3 years.
I don't know if you can say that Jimmy Butler was a mistake, because obviously before his injury, they were the 4 seed and could have definitely passed the Blazers for the 3 seed. So, but obviously Butler wants to leave now, which is why I can see you see it as a mistake. Tremendous asset to the team. I liked the trade. They obviously gave up the 7th pick in the 2017 draft. They could have gotten a guy like Lauri Markkanen, Malik Monk, Frank Ntilikina. Tremendous prospects in that draft. But it's difficult because the Timberwolves now have to deal with Jimmy Butler after getting him in a blockbuster trade. So Jimmy Butler, in my opinion, will definitely be on a different team instead of the Timberwolves later on in his career. Moving on to a tragic story, it's our last topic of the day. Ex-footballer Ronaldo was recently diagnosed with pneumonia, and he was put in intensive care at a hospital located in Ibiza. A very sad story, especially for a legend. World Cup victory in 2002, the Golden Boot with 8 goals, and one of the voted the world's best player in 1996, 97, and 2003. Such a sad story for such a tremendous guy.
I mean, sorry to end the episode on this dour note, but news in sports, we got to cover it. It was confirmed Friday night that Ronaldo had been taken to a hospital in Ibiza, Spain, because of pneumonia. He was getting his health back together. He was getting weight after his career ended, but he was getting that back together. He's getting back in shape. He's going to be an ambassador, or still is going to be an ambassador for the 2020 World Cup in Qatar. He's tweeted some post about it that he's going to recover from this. He's going to be set back and discharged. He's going to be discharged on Monday, tomorrow, on the day that we're recording this on Sunday. He just announced that he should be recovering from this and he should be fine. But it's going to be a stumbling block if his health can flare up again. And this could be another tragic sports figure dying like Johan Cruyff, or even if you look back even further, George Best. But Ronaldo should be back in health in the next couple of weeks. We all wish him the best.
Yeah, our thoughts and prayers are with his family and Ronaldo himself. But please tune in to our next episode of Triple Threat. Thank you for listening, but that will do it for us. Thank you, Will. I'm Mikhail Vats. Good night from Atlanta.